Hello and welcome to the Zach Ratliff Show.
Thank you.
I'm Zach. This is Steve, and we've got our premium listener off camera. Hello, premium listener.
How are y'all today?
Hey, we're good. We're
I thought he
everybody
wasn't gonna talk.
said didn't have to talk.
Oh,
Yeah. So first three microphones set up we've got going in here. Premium listener came in for because he's unnamed, right?
so far.
Yeah. And so premium listener came in for the to help with the audio. We finally got those issues corrected. It's user error. Um, but anyway, and me being the user, we've got that figured out. But anyway, it's Friday, and we're glad with it.
Yeah, everybody's glad about Fridays.
And the weekend's coming.
Generally after Friday.
Well, yeah. If you're me, your weekend started last night, so
Oh, congratulations. Well, okay, Steve. Let's first of all let's thank our sponsors. That's Mortgage Financial here in Texarkana, Elmwood Custom Goods, and ChurchOnTheRock.org.
Church on the Rock. We'll love the hell out of it.
There we go. Okay, Steve, catch us up. Well, we had Chris Spencer at the Patriots last night,
Yes,
and
Booty City Patriots meet every Thursday at Big Jake's Barbecue in Nash.
there you go. And I had another uh, venue to be at, so I just came to eat and listen to you give an interesting talk about how we're not friends with politicians as you stared him in the face, and 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 so anyway, how'd that wind up?
Well, it went well. I got a text from him that he really enjoyed being there. He didn't say that he really liked talking to me or anything, but he said he really enjoyed being there. I think it went well. And we talk about that a lot actually. My job with the John Birch Society, I've gone all over a lot of Texas, and I've made acquaintance with quite a few politicians.
Right.
And some of them I would call them friends. They're enjoyable to hang out with, eat lunch or just sit around and talk or whatever. But they still work for us,
Right.
and we have to keep that in mind. If you do hero worship with politicians, we see that on the left, we see that on the right. That the politicians, oh, it's he's on my side. He can't do anything wrong, and it lets them do anything they want to.
You know,
And so I don't, I think Chris is going to be fine with that. He's been a businessman. He got into this just in the last couple of years. It's not been something a lifelong goal or a lifelong occupation for him. He just
right.
wants to get in there and fix things.
I
And I think he has
truly
good
think
ideas.
he's in it for the good of the state.
Right.
And
Yeah.
because, of course, from a business standpoint, if the state does better, your business does better. So it all makes
Yeah.
sense. I mean,
And if you get the hurdles out of the way for the businesses, simplify things, we're still gonna have taxes and things like that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But if the business, sorry, I need to get closer to the microphone.
premium listener is
Premium
instructing
listener, our
us.
tech support, our engineer, premium listener slash engineer tells me I need to be closer to the microphone. So
I am
anyway,
an engineer by trade. Not that kind of engineer. Not that kind of engineer,
Also,
though.
a little bit braggadocio.
yeah. And man, now that people know use that term braggadocio to be female. Now
Ah,
everybody knows.
yeah.
They've
And,
narrowed it down by 50% as
and
to
you're
who it might
welcome.
be.
You
Yeah.
just lost
Yeah.
me.
So anyway, last night we had
Right.
we had Chris Spencer there, and I think he had some really good ideas. I
Well,
talked to him recently. I think we were texting, and I said something about property taxes, and he goes, "Man, I've been digging into that." He did. A lot of that showed up.
well, and so I know you've got some research on that. He mentioned when he was on this show, actually, that he would like to see property taxes go away, as would we all,
We
because there's no true ownership with property taxes.
That's true, and that needs to be the driver behind the argument. Property taxes are evil. So and people go, "Well, what are you gonna replace it with?" I don't care.
Right.
The topic needs to be how do we replace it, not whether we should. And because of property taxes, it takes us right back to what we had in England where you had feudal lords.
Right.
Someone owned vast swaths of land. Everybody who lived out there was just a renter, and they had to give him part of what they made, whether it was as a craftsman or somebody that ran a mill that ground corn, somebody that grew crops, somebody that took care of animals, whatever it was. They had to give part of that to the guy that owned the land.
And we're not all of us aren't making meal or planting corn, but when you sell that for money, then you have to give part of that away in property tax. So it's the exact same
It
system.
is, and we've replaced. I'm going to give him X number of barrels of ground corn. We
Right.
replaced that with I'm going to give my masters at the courthouse, my masters at the state. I'm going to give them a cut of everything.
Yeah.
And
You
and
know,
and there's so many ways it's evil. So you buy a house for $10,000 or yeah, $10,000 and you sell it for $100,000. The state wants part of that,
right,
right? And are you gonna do capital gains? And what if it's all inflation? And so what if the price of your house has just kept up with inflation, which is reasonable buying a house and sell it 30 years later.
right,
So you buy it for 10,000, sell it for 100,000. You didn't really make anything because of inflation, but
right,
the government still wants their cut of that with capital gains taxes. With property taxes, the way it's currently set up, you bought your house for 10,000, now it's worth 100,000, the government says, and they want a cut of that 100,000 every year.
right.
So you're being taxed on something you haven't sold yet.
And truly,
Unrealized capital gains, which again is evil.
well, and truly, you know, look, I've been on the buying side of this. Hey, there's some property coming up for a tax sale. You go down to New Boston to the courthouse steps. You register inside first, and then you make bids on that property, and then it's yours. And
Yeah,
and and I've seen property go for. I saw a couple acres go for like $300 one day.
that's horrible. Think about that. Think about you buy some land and you buy it, you have a purpose for it, you're going to do something with it, and you get on hard times, you can't, or the taxes just keep going up and up, and you can't afford it.
Right.
Think about that,
Well,
and
and
just
just think,
somebody else takes it because you can't give the Lord His cut every year.
right.
And that's, I
And we're not
mean,
talking about Jesus. We're
no, we're
talking
not.
about
We're
your
talking about
earthly.
He's the Lord, we're the vassals. When people first came to this country, they would say, "This is my land. From here to that great big tree, to the edge of the river, follow the river up to that tree back here. That's my land."
It was called staking land. That's
Yeah.
why we still stake with survey.
Right. So that's your land, and you say, "And I'll prove it because I'm going to work here. I'm going to build a house over here, and have crops over here, and have livestock over there,
Right.
and that's my land." Well, the idea that common folk like me and you could suddenly own land was just abhorrent to the people in Europe who said that by birthright they own everything and we own nothing.
Right.
And so they tried to find ways to get that back. And property taxes is one of those ways.
Yeah.
So if you say I bought this land, it's mine, I can show it because of a deed now. You don't have to, do
Right.
the other thing. You just again, these this is the meets and bounds of my land.
Yeah.
It's my land. And the government says, well, you've got to give us a percentage of its worth every year. And the rule of, I mean, you could do the math. I'm about to say rule of 72. I don't think it applies, but you could do the math and figure out that how many years does it take to give the government the entirety
The
of that?
full value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're getting it. What have they done to earn it? Nothing. But it puts it back into the hands of the government being the feudal lord.
Well,
And then if you can't afford to buy it, and if you can't afford to pay the taxes, it's going to get sold out from under you, and someone's going to buy it. And who usually buys it?
so,
The really wealthy people. And so and you can look at our economy every 20 years or so. There's a boom and a bust.
yeah.
So the boom, everybody goes out and buys land. Then the bust, well, I can't keep it, so I sell it. So every time that cycle happens, the elite, the wealthy
Yeah.
elite, gets more of the capital, the resources of
Which
the country.
I'm not against the wealthy, and I'm not
No,
against the
it's
elite,
fine.
but the system is set up in such a way. Because look, I hope to be in a position one day that in a bust I can go out and buy land and property and do these things. However, I plan on retiring one day, and I would like to not have to worry about. Like I was talking to somebody the other day. They're like, "Hey, we've got this property. No matter what, if I don't work a day, I have to make this much income to cover my taxes,
Yeah.
insurance, and bills." And it was like $100,000. They're like, just $100,000. They're like, so yeah, I'm making good money, but also if I quit, my way of life is. And look, I'm not asking anybody to feel bad for somebody that's having to pay $100,000 in taxes and insurance and everything, other than it's theft. And
It is. So think about this. That $10,000 house, by the time it was paid for 30 years later, it's now worth $100,000.
Right.
Okay. So hopefully during that 30-year period, the person's income has gone up.
Yeah.
But then they retire and they don't really have a means of increasing their income other than the retirement plan increasing for them.
Right.
The cost of living increase.
Which is not guaranteed.
It's not. And so what if that house goes from 100,000 to 200,000? So are they paying twice as much in property taxes? That happens all the time across the state, across the country.
Well,
You
and
get to the point where I can't afford to keep this land anymore. I wanted to give it to my kids, my grandkids, and now I can't because the property taxes are so high. And again, it comes back to that same thing again, unrealized capital gains. And the government will say your land is worth this much. Now you can protest. We've seen that here in Texarkana. I sat in on a protest board or I videoed it actually. Somebody saying you said, 3 years ago you said this is worth $200,000. Now you're saying it's worth $400,000. That's
Right.
crazy. Looking at land on New Boston Road that was valued at 80, 90, $100,000 for this little parcel. I mean, a little bitty parcel, but it was actually selling for 35,000.
Right. Well, and here's the deal. The dirty trick in Texas, and I'm sure other places too, is i- the legislature came out and said it this week. Oh, we're not going to raise your property taxes, but we're going to inflate your valuation
Yeah.
so high that your taxes have to be because we didn't raise your rate, but now your value is like my house. I live in a 1,600, almost 1,600 square foot house. It's a beautiful house. It's nice neighborhood. I paid $160,000 for it, I think. When I got it. Well, now it's worth double that. However, I didn't agree to pay taxes on double that. I
Right.
knew my budget on a 30-year mortgage. So if you go, look, I didn't have enough money to buy it all at once. I had to take out a loan, as most of us do. And then I had to do that. Well, then you escrow your insurance. Then you escrow your taxes. Well, then your insurance, my house payment went up by $120 this year, $120 last year, and I think $100 more the year before that. So I'm up $340 on my house payment in 3 years.
Yeah.
Side note, got a divorce and all that and had to figure that out. Well, talk about put a strain on where you are from insurance and taxes. Those are the only two reasons my house payment went up. The bank's still getting what they agreed to give you, but and the insurance doubled, and then the escrow was short, and then your tax value went up. So, do I consider myself lower class? No. Am I middle class? Yeah, I'm middle class, but our tax policy are punishing me. And I
Sorry,
think
my mind just went to the Sawyer Brown song.
which one?
I ain't first class, but I ain't white trash, wild a little. Anyway, some girls don't like boys like me.
Some girls do.
Oh, but some girls do.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how the breakdown of property taxes happens because the state's worried about the money to fund education.
Right.
Well, we've got county commissioners wanting their cut for paying for our roads that we use,
Right.
which are what the property taxes are supposed to be for. So how does this getting rid of property tax work for, counties, emergency service districts? Well, in my case, Texarkana College,
Yeah.
How do
Yeah, like why are you paying for Texarkana College where you live well outside of which I was against that when they did it, right? Because who all pays Texarkana? Cass County voted it down, but all of Bowie County
I
pays
think
Texarkana
I
College.
think Miller County pays it too. I've heard something about Arkansas counties paying for it too. So that's something to be checked into.
Okay, yeah, we'll ask on that.
But either way, overreach.
Yeah, well, and here's the deal: the government always needs more money because once again, as we all know, the government doesn't have any money. They only have whatever they steal from us through income tax, property tax. I'll give you sales tax because I can calculate how much that's going to be on whatever I buy.
Right.
I
And
think
that part's easy.
I
And-
think that sales tax, and even if it was and we can go into that, and that might be part of the plan you're going to talk about on property tax. If there was just hey, we're going to put a 10% tax
It's
on,
not even that.
what is it?
7%. They've done the math.
10% would be easier.
Well, right. It's a 7% on top of what we have right now.
right.
So some
So
people go, well, I don't own a house. I rent. Well,
somebody's paying taxes on that.
Yes, they're paying property taxes on that. I've really seen somebody say that. Well, I don't care if the property taxes go up. I rent. Well, that's dumb because
Your
property
rent's
taxes
gonna
are part
go
of
up.
your rent payment.
Well,
And if it doesn't go up anymore, your rent stays the same.
I manage properties, and there was a lady, one of our renters, and we had to go up on rent, and I think we went up. It was by less than $100, and they were like, "Well, why is our rent going up?" I'm like, "Well, insurance and taxes." Like, what's that have to do with me? I'm like, it doesn't have anything to do with you except for you got to pay more. But this house has to be insured.
Yeah. And it has to pay property taxes, or
right.
the state will confiscate it. So it's a 7% tax on top of the sales tax we have right now.
Okay, so
Let
that
me
put us at we're at 8.25. So that's going to put us at 10.25, 15.25 on inside Texarkana. We're at 15.25
right.
if that's the case.
Okay, so right now, Texas's current property tax burden is among the highest in the nation. 7% consumption tax would fully fund schools, roads, and essential services. It's collected at the point of sale. And
Perfect.
so, and here's the thing: if your taxes are hidden, like when you're making your payments, and the bank says, "Hey, your payments just went up $110 a month," well, why? But if you're paying it at the register, you see it.
Well, let me say this
It's
before you,
transparent. It's easy.
let me say this before you go on. Because then the politicians can blame the fat cat bankers. Oh, the bankers do this. Oh, the
Right.
bankers do that.
Yeah.
But your note, what the bank's getting hasn't changed at all. It's what you're paying. They're going to blame the bank, but it's the politicians
Yeah. The stuff
that,
they've
that are
messed up, they've
causing your
raised the
payment to
taxes.
go up.
Yeah. So it's designed to be, um, well, my notes right here, it's fair and sustainable, and I think that's a good way to look at it. Um, Texas GDP is $2.6 trillion a year. If you put 7% tax on top of that, it comes out to 182 billion. If you take out 35% roughly for things like your food, your a lot of different things, groceries, prescription medicine, healthcare, all that stuff. There's no tax on that. Looking at possible exemptions for utilities and other things. So that 35% out leaves a tax on 65%, which is $118 billion, which matches our current funding need. But the thing is, there's over 60 different taxes going on right now in Texas. And so
Well,
you can have a tax for your area that pays for, like we have this out here, rural areas.
Yeah.
The tax went just a little bit to pay for fire services.
Yeah.
They're probably accurate when they say, yes, it went up $25 a month, but you're probably going to save that on insurance because now there is a recognized fire department in your area. But if they do this, um, the property tax just goes away. And again, it's evil. You can't.
The property
And
tax. is
people will
evil.
say, "But what are you gonna replace it with?" If you say property taxes are evil, there's always somebody that says, "Well, what are you gonna replace
I
it
mean,
with?"
we might take this mantle up. Like this is something that talk about needing a cause.
Let me throw in something about the SREC on this.
What does the SREC stand for?
Thank you. State Republican Executive Committee, our committee woman, we have keeping the details there. Kristen Bentley put out an email or a text message or something the other day that I saw. Well, it was on Facebook, and she asked the question: should we? Because they put this proposition on the ballot 2 years ago for the Republican primary. Should we eliminate property taxes? Well, it wasn't done in this session, so now she asked the question: should we put it back on there? Well, I think absolutely,
We've already said yes. If they're just going to ignore us again, why would you put it back on there?
because maybe we could elect some more folks that will.
And honestly, that's if
Elections have.
Chris Spencer has dug into this stuff.
Yeah.
The website is eliminatepropertytaxes.com, I think. It's
Okay.
focused on Texas. Excuse me.
EliminatePropertyTaxes.com.
I think that's right.
Singular tax. Eliminatepropertytax.com.
Okay.
Is that it? Okay.
Eliminate
I've
property
They're
got it
on,
down.
on Facebook and all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eliminatepropertytax.com. And you can go there and you can read about it. Chris has obviously, and I haven't really talked to him this campaign cycle. I mean, we say hi, we see each other.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't talked at all. So I was really excited last night to hear him say this because again, so here's the thing: if you say we got to eliminate property taxes, constantly you'll hear, "What are you going to replace it with?" I don't care. And it's like I think it was Thomas Sowell that said this. If you say, "Well, I've got cancer and I'm going to the doctor," well, what are you going to replace it with? No, you
Right.
just take it out.
Yeah. That's exactly. Well, and here's one
so
thing
what
you
he
said.
did, well, he looked into this and he has dug into it.
Yeah.
And all of it. Go ahead and ask. We'll go and
So
talk.
here's one thing you said. Our current funding needs. We can, once we cut the tax, if we go into this usage tax, needs are different because a lot of our government needs are just government want.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
Well, that's an aside. He said one of the things he wants to do is in Texas change the definition of public domain or eminent domain to instead of for the public need to for the public necessity.
yeah.
And when they wrote it, that was a definition when our founding fathers wrote the Constitution for the public need. But they were better people, and they intended for
And
government
they
to stay
understood
small.
the English language.
Yeah,
better.
but yes, all these things nowadays we need to be more careful about reining in government.
Yeah, they
So
don't.
yeah,
We don't.
that's
We have no value of words anymore. They don't mean anything.
no, they don't. So it's about it seems like a very fair way to eliminate property taxes. If the thing is, the flat tax addressed this. If the lower your income, the more of your income is goes to sales tax,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Because you're not saving anything. You're not all that. So you're buying food, paying for your rent. You're buying insurance.
Now, however, in Texas, if you're buying food, if you're buying meat, eggs, which is egg technically a meat? Meat,
It's
eggs, milk,
pre-meat.
cheese. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not worrying because you said exemptions earlier. You're already not paying taxes
Right.
on that.
Yeah, there's a
So
lot of things we don't. So this continues that. There's no tax on your groceries, no tax on medicine, no tax on going to the doctor. So it's we're not asking people to make a sacrifice. It's fair across the board.
well,
And so
yeah,
if the things that
it's a
that people
percentage.
have to buy aren't taxed, then you say, well, no, I don't like the idea that I'm having to pay the same tax as some billionaire does.
You're
You're
not.
not
Yeah.
because you're buying a lot less stuff, and your stuff is tax exempt. The billionaire is having to pay tax on the booze and the caviar and whatever he's having for his fancy
First of
parties.
all, there aren't that many billionaires in the world. This is a common language drift that the Democrats have put into place. Is there aren't that many billionaires. Maybe our
Well,
premium listener could, or you could look up and see how many billionaires are in the country. There's not a lot, and even
it's
millionaires.
it's a talking point for the left though
Yeah,
about fairness. The billionaires need to pay their fair share,
right.
and they will because a lot of what they buy is would not be exempt from sales
So
tax.
what
It's
you're
a
saying
luxury.
is if you're having to worry about how much, let's just go back to it at a 7%, which would take us to 15.25% sales tax, which isn't exact. This won't exactly work because cars don't work this way. But if you're pinching pennies and you have to go buy a $10,000 car,
Mhm.
and then you're at 15%, that's $1,500.
Well, cars right now, they typically they're 6%. Now they don't have all the other stuff on there.
Right.
But if you buy a new car for $50,000, you pay 6%, and you turn around and sell that to somebody 2 years later, they're paying 6%.
Right.
Every single time it's sold, there's a 6% tax on it.
Well, and I was just going with 15 because that's on the eight and
Yeah.
a quarter,
Well,
and then
I think it still is
It's
6.
it is still
Yeah.
6, but just so we can do easy math on 10. But here's the deal, that $1,500 that you're paying when you say it's not fair, a millionaire's not buying that $10,000
Right.
car. They're going to buy the $100,000 Escalade, so they're paying this is why it's not fair. I think everybody should pay the same amount. So I'm that conservative because a percentage
Right.
on $100,000, that millionaire is still paying $15,000. So they're
Right.
paying 10 times
See, the
more
whole argument
taxes.
about, "Well, I'm paying the same as a millionaire."
No, you're
Well,
not.
you're not because
But you should be. If we
if you
wanted
go
to,
by percentage, but the millionaire is paying more in taxes than you're making in a year.
that's absolutely
So you can make the argument, but it's disingenuous,
yeah.
and I think it's easily deconstructed.
As of 2025, Forbes data indicates that there are 902 billionaires that live in the United States.
902. So 350 million divided by 902. Oh, I did that wrong way. 902 divided by 350 million is point
Oh
zero
my goodness.
zero 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 257 of our population. So let's see.
Multiply that times 100, but it's still going to be 0.00
I
something.
think there's like 12 more zeros when you multiply it by 100.
Yeah, it's still I mean it's such a small number of our percentage, and let's don't even include the 100 million illegal and foreign people on visas that we've got here.
That
So
is 2.5 10,000ths of a percent
How
of
many
the people
millionaires
in,
do we have?
yeah, 2.5 10,000ths of a
But
percent.
the point is, if you're making more money, you're paying more in taxes. You're
Absolutely.
paying more in sales tax. You're already paying more in sales tax.
and Chris
So,
made a
I mean,
point.
right now, sales tax is 8.25% on the standard things in here in Bowie County. So right now, you're paying the same as a
Right.
millionaire. And
Yes.
so there's no reason to complain about adding 7% to that and eliminating property taxes and the evil that is if you're not complaining now that you're paying the same
But
as a
of course,
millionaire.
every time we say millionaires and billionaires, I hear Bernie Sanders, the millionaires and the billionaires. You know how he talks or whatever. But there's just not that many. Do we know how many millionaires?
Well, it says about 24 million millionaires. So here's
Okay,
the thing. You mentioned how much your house is worth.
that's right.
You
That's
know,
how
in
they're
another
counting.
10 years, assuming you could get ahead in life and have a better paying job, it's not that hard to become a millionaire these days. You just got to quit borrowing money every day.
Well, even eh, technically on a financial statement, you can add it up and then count your. You know, I mean, you have your assets
Retirement
and your
accounts,
liabilities. Yeah. So I mean, by the time you throw your retirement accounts and all in there, if you've got a if you bought a house for $350,000 10 years ago, it's worth $500,000 today. Then you've got two cars. Say they're both worth $50,000 on paper, and that so you're at 600,000. You've got a boat. You know, let's call that 650. You got $150,000 in retirement account. You're up to 800,000,
you're
and then
close.
your grandma, and then your mom dies, and you inherit her house. You're a millionaire, and now the government wants to tax you more.
Now, let me throw this out there. Chris made this point last night that if we all of a sudden our tax burden is shifted to the way we spend instead of what we own, what are you going to do to reduce your tax burden?
You're gonna pick who you spend on.
You're going
Yeah.
to you're going to pick who you spend, or you're going to pick how much you spend.
That's
And
right.
if you're not spending it, it means you're
Not taxed.
saving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does
And
savings do?
the other group of people who always complain about this is the people who their job depends on taxes, our elected officials.
Right.
So, and people who work for the government, but the elected official, where's the money going to come from to pave the roads? And I had this discussion with a local mayor recently, and we went
Which
back
one?
and forth on property taxes. It's one of our unnamed listeners,
Okay.
probably not a listener.
Maybe we've got a few.
I'll say his name later.
Okay.
Um, so it kept coming back, and I finally responded to him, and I said, "Listen, if everything I say your response is, but the city needs the money, then I'm not making my point. And the point is, property taxes are evil, and we have to eliminate them. So this thing, and this, go to this website and look it up. What is it? Eliminatepropertytax.com.
And I tell
Um,
you what, I will try to link that in the comments on the show, on YouTube,
yeah.
on all the things, and on the Zach Ratliff show Facebook.
So the local sales tax it comes out of that 7%. Municipalities get up to 1%, counties up to 1%, school districts up to 0.5%, and that the total local cap is 3%. So, and they can come in and they can say, let's say local governments still receive more revenue overall due to a broader tax base. Funding for schools and infrastructure is protected without property taxes. Um, some safeguards against raising it. State legislators cannot unilaterally raise the rate.
Right.
It would have to be a constitutional amendment to do that. Any proposed increase must go on the ballot. It ensures long-term stability and accountability for the taxpayers and the tax collectors. So politicians don't get a blank check. You get to decide if your taxes go up.
Good. I
Yeah,
mean, that's the way it should work.
it
Well,
is.
here's my question.
And so they like if your local government says maybe I'm sure there's counties out there that get by on a lot lower tax rate than Bowie County.
God,
And
I
Bowie
hope
County's
so.
like a probably what mid range average county in Texas. We got counties that have $1 zillion budgets.
I'll ask Rob.
So the point is if you say we need to raise the rate for this to pay for this new palace to education. Um, and here's the thing, man. I went to school. We didn't have air conditioning until I was in 5th grade. I take that back. I think we had air conditioning when I was in 7th. Anyway, so we kids all go outside and play. Think about the teacher having to smell that stuff. But the kids all go outside and play and sweat and come back in and learn. And we learned without air conditioning. So why do we think we've got to have these palaces? I mean,
Oh, for sure.
there's school districts in Texas that their indebtedness is well up close to $1 billion.
The average, I don't know if this is right. The average county property tax rate in Texas. I didn't word this right because it's 1.47 of the assessed value. So, well, I didn't do sales tax. Were you doing sales tax?
Well,
Yeah.
the 1.47, that's the county's cut, but then you get the school district's cut. And so all this, again, it comes back to um, there's so many taxes. He was talking last night about a franchise tax. A franchise tax in Texas was a way to make the wealthy pay their fair share. So if you have a business in Texas, it's incorporated in
8.2.
Texas, you have to uh, file a form every year for franchise
You
tax.
sure do.
And that is if you're making more than $1 million a year, you've got to give a cut of that to the government.
Right. But here's the deal. I am not making more than $1 million a year, just in case anybody needed to know. And I still have to file not the franchise tax, but the a different tax that I have
Did you send it to both of us?
Oh,
No.
no. Um, I still have to have I still have to file it. It didn't franchise tax, but I can't remember what it is. But it cost me $150. It's either 75 or $150 a year just to have an LLC.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just another tax.
Yeah. And I don't know that that'll go away, but a lot of these other things will. So all these, you will see every. So like if you drive by and you go, man, that's a cool looking stadium that we have there, but then you see, your taxes are every time you buy something, you look at that. I bought $100 worth of ammo, and I just put an
Well,
extra $15 to make sure that
I mean, we could bleed that. It's real easy to bleed that over into um, school district budgets and going on there, and then all these school bonds that come up, and like I said, every Taj Mahal that's built, and
Yeah.
what's TISD in Texarkana got a $70 million a year budget. Like, first of all, that's nuts. Now, do I want our kids to be educated? Yes. Do I want them to be indoctrinated by the government? Not necessarily. Of course, just to go way off the rails here, I think starting in about ninth grade, if you see somebody's like, "Hey, man, it was like you're headed down that construction path
yeah.
that, and not that there's wrong with that, because there's a lot of millionaires have come from construction. Or if you're, hey, it looks like you're probably going to be a welder or a plumber or whatever. You've got your basics. Let's get you on into trade school so you can go have a successful
Oh,
life."
so I'll drop names on this one. I went to school in New Boston, Texas. Superintendent when I graduated was Hubert Simpson, and
You don't hear about many
all
Huberts,
of these guys that were up high in the education system in Bowie County at that time were big fans of Votech.
right?
I
Should be.
remember, I think 2 years before I graduated high school, they, I think it's Mr. Simpson, made as big a deal about the guy that day started his new job out at the depot as he did about the person who got a full ride scholarship somewhere.
Right.
His daughter, Susan, she and I went to school together, I think 4 years apart, something like that. She became a superintendent of Grand Prairie ISD. And she was actually, Governor Perry appointed her to a state level board over things like this. She tragically passed away it's kind of a freak accident 3, 4 years ago, something like that. But I talked to her several times. I interviewed her. She got some big award. I interviewed her back when I had the online news site. I interviewed her about the award she'd gotten, the name of this board from Governor Perry. There was a company I was doing a project for. They had questions about uh, how school bus routes went. And I called her and she was telling me about it. And she was a big proponent of Votech as well.
Well,
And they started it early. She said, this guy over here that graduates and instantly gets a good job, making 50 grand a year or whatever, as a welder for, I forget, Boeing or something, whatever it is in Grand Prairie, one of the manufacturers. There's several defense contractors too in the area. She said, he's gonna be of more value to this town than the kid that gets a full ride to Harvard, but he's
well,
never coming back. This kid, though,
here.
he's here, he's gonna buy his pickup here, he's gonna buy his boat here, he might run for city council, he might run for school board, he's gonna stay here, and he's actually of more benefit to Grand Prairie than the kid that goes to Harvard. And so I mean, the bus schedule going around to keep thinking you're signaling me.
No.
Okay.
Gotcha.
The bus schedule to get people from this school to this place over
Is it
here
there?
was crazy complicated, but she made it work, or they made it work, and because they prioritized the people
Well,
making the money with their hands.
I know a guy who's 10 years older than me. He's one of my uncle's friends, and he never made it past ninth grade. However, that same guy a couple years ago went and I'm talking about wrote a check for a brand new John Deere excavator. Do you know what a John Deere excavator, your track hoe cost?
A lot.
$300,000 plus dollars. And now, how do you do that? Because when he's like, he wasn't always the nicest guy, and he didn't want to do what people said, but he's like, I'm not gonna do this anyway. I'm out. So he went, started construction, got his own company, now runs trucks and everything. And if you're gonna build something down where they're from, that's who you call. And so to talk about these millionaires, Yeah, he's one of them,
Yeah.
but didn't nobody give it to him, and school certainly didn't give it to him. I'm not anti-education. Let me say that because I come off that way. I caught a little bit of hell a couple weeks ago about my joke about my joke about teachers and don't be complaining about going back to work for the first 2 weeks or whatever. You know what? It didn't come off right. My bad. But I'm not anti-education. I'm anti-indoctrination.
Right.
I'm anti. I'm anti. This is what you have to do. You have to do the 8 to 5. We're gonna. Who was it? Was
And
it?
that's
Was it?
The Dewey Decimal System for the libraries.
Dewey
It was
Decimal.
it was
But
him. He was the one that talked about that education is meant to put this peg into this hole.
that's exactly right. Because then you had the assembly line. Then you had the 40-hour work week came out of if we get you used to going to school 8 to 3, we can move that 8 to 5, give you a 30-minute lunch, and then all you will ever know is working for the man. And we can box you in so much that you believe everything we tell you. Side note,
Sounds like a book or something like that.
like an Overton window book.
Mm.
Or maybe there's one code. It's 19 something.
1984?
Oh, yeah. Well, year before I was born, maybe. um, but so just and we'll get back to this tax, but my
It's all the same.
it is. My daughter tells me yesterday when we were on the way to the Patriots, just
So how old's your daughter?
10. Well, no,
And
she'll be 10 in September.
okay,
Um,
and she's coming to the Bowie County Patriots.
She comes to boot camp and she pays attention.
She does.
And then we went to the premiere and she, get to walk on the red carpet. And she's like, Dad, you didn't tell me you knew people there's a red carpet. And there were some people there with, well,
Carl.
one person had 15,000 internet followers, one had 20,000 internet followers, 100,000s of views. She's like, we're here with famous people. I'm like, oh, yeah. So anyway, that's a big deal for her. But she tells
now
me,
she's famous.
that's right. She tells me on the way there, she goes, they said something in school that you wouldn't have liked. I'm like, which concerns me instantly because
Zach is triggered.
yeah, triggered. I'm like, well, what was it, baby? She goes, my teacher said something about, well, if we don't take care of this, it's going to increase the level of global warming. And eh, I said, and what did you say? She goes, well, I wanted to raise my hand and be like, my dad says that's not true. She goes, but I already knew she was going to argue with me because you would say she just doesn't know. But anyway, so back to these eliminating property taxes and Chris Spencer. I know we're going back around by Laura and them's house to get there, but
Well, several squirrels, and that's going to be a benefit to everybody. I think.
well, I think it will. I think it's been a valid conversation. So
Yeah.
if
So
not, fast forward.
back around to it. That's one of the things that Chris is running on. It's important to know back in 1913, 2013, this came up. George Lavender was our state rep then.
Yeah.
And he was very conservative, and I don't say it was before his time because we needed it then, but this was something that he was presenting, and it wasn't we got to do this, and here's how we'll do it. I know a guy I go to church with. He said, I've done the math. There's no way to replace a property tax, and I'm like, well, you're wrong,
Right.
because that
There's a way.
doesn't even make sense. But they have done this. So 2013, George Lavender presented this as a bill, didn't get any traction. I mean, there's all the people with deep pockets are against it. The people who benefit from us losing our home or losing our businesses.
They want us in perpetual servitude.
They do.
I
They
mean-
want us to be vassals. That's what they want to happen. But this has been refined a little bit since then. It's 12 years ago. Again, go to the website eliminatepropertytax.com, and there's 4 little articles. You can look at them, and it tells you the stuff we've been talking about a little bit. It's very well thought out.
You know what I think
if
of?
Chris Spencer, here's the thing: if Gary Van Dever was an awesome state rep, but never wanted to talk about eliminating property taxes, and Chris comes in and says, "Yeah, he's done a great job, but I want to do this." That's the reason to put Chris.
Right.
in.
Because what have you been saying about property taxes?
They're evil.
They're evil. I think that's what I'm saying. So
There is a morality
ahead.
issue with all taxes, but especially property taxes.
Well, I also want to point out, I was thinking about this on the way home from the meeting last night, that our current representative, Gary Van Dever, his professional career was public education. And where do you get that money from?
that's right.
Property taxes.
I'm not against educators, but I want to say how my money goes. But here's this thing, and this kind of goes more to the income tax. We can play it like that. On the federal level, and on the income tax, at this point, because I believe we're in a post-constitutional uh, United States, which is why you work for JBS, why I'm a JBS member. That's why, unnamed listener, you're a JBS member. Because we're pro-Constitution. We're pro the founding of this country and the
Yeah.
way it was set up.
We're post-Constitution in the way we handle things,
Right.
but if we went back to the Constitution, it would fix everything.
So being post-constitutional, the only reason I see right now that we still have income tax is for control. The Fed's printing all the money they want. Our money actually has zero value.
Yeah, we had somebody come speak, man, several 10, 11, 12 years ago. He came and spoke, and the question, this happens all the time. If the federal government can print all the money they want to, why do we have to pay taxes?
That's exactly
And the reason behind it was the federal government prints, this is visual, they print this much money,
Mhm.
which would give us this much inflation, but every year we give them this much money back. So
Right.
they print the money, and then we give them money that's been
We
generated
don't
with blood,
give it,
sweat,
they
and tears.
take it.
Yeah. So the only reason, if you can print all the money you want, the only reason to have income taxes is to keep the perceived level of inflation down. So if you look at the price of gold 100 years ago and what it is now, gold is maintained its standard. Um,
A bar of gold 100 years ago would build you a standard house,
yeah.
and a bar of gold today will build you
Or
a
a
standard house.
1 ounce gold coin would be 2 weeks' wages in 1913
And today
when
it
it
is
started
too.
it still is, yeah. So and it's a pretty good wage. So
Yeah, but it's
gold
absolutely
hasn't gone up in price, the dollar has gone down in value, and we don't notice it as much because we have they take so much money out of the economy every year, so we don't the perceived inflation isn't as much. I had a story with a friend that told me, that he bought a house, I forget what year, we'll say it was 1975, and he paid or 1970 maybe, and he paid 10,000 silver dollars for the house,
wow.
and he sold it 25 years later for 10,000 silver dollars. That was the contract.
Right.
So, if he puts down capital gains, the realized profit from that was 0 because he gave 10,000 silver dollars and he received 10,000 silver dollars.
That's awesome.
Now, the difference in time would be that he paid about $10,000 for the house and he received 10,000 silver dollars, but if he went to sell them, they're worth about $175,000.
Right.
So you could say, well, I made $165,000 on my house. You know, I looked around, I saw everything, and I thought this is a good place right here. It's going to go up in value. And I did a pretty good job, I think. Now the government took 28%, but I'm still ahead. I'm still way ahead.
Right.
And so I'm real proud of myself. But what actually happened was it just went up because of inflation.
Yes.
And because it went because of inflation, you had this much and you got out of it with this much, except the government took their cut and now you've got less than when you started. But you can't tell because there's inflation. You think, oh, inflation, a rising tide lifts all boats. Well, no, it doesn't. There's
Well,
certain things that go up and certain things that don't. Now, if you buy a house out in the country, well, like this happens all the time in the Metroplex, you
Yeah.
buy a house out in the country and then the city encroaches on it. Well, it does go up in value because
Yes.
there's supply and demand. And there's only so much dirt out there. So you see this all the time in real estate.
Yeah.
So and there's the thing again though with property taxes. If I bought my house for $10,000 in 1975, and now you're saying that it's worth
Million.
$600,000, $1 million,
Yeah.
I can't pay the taxes on that. And that was going to be that was going to be something I bequeathed to my kids. So
Right.
if one of the things that he talked about last night was that the tax on your home, this is separate, but it should always be what you paid for it.
Right.
Because
This
if you say,
at
oh,
this
it's
level
worth 3 times that now or 100 times that now.
doesn't matter
Well, I
'cause
haven't
you
sold it.
agreed to pay this much.
Yeah, yeah. And so they talked about this what 2, 3 years ago. Unrealized capital gains. If you bought a stock and you know you paid
The
$10,000 for
Democrats
the
try to
stock,
tax that all the time.
they do.
Yeah.
And now your stock's worth $1 million. Well, you need to pay your fair share. Well, I haven't sold it.
Well,
I haven't gotten any money for it. Why should I give you money on something that I have that I haven't sold yet? But so that's another evil.
well, and here's what bothers me about all that. 49% of Americans, was it 49% don't pay taxes or pay taxes?
No, well, almost the same. So it doesn't
Right.
matter.
Yeah, but So half the country pays zero taxes. Well, it comes out of our check. Oh, yeah, but you get that back.
Look, income tax, but not
Right.
local taxes
Yeah,
and everything
income
else.
tax.
Income
You,
tax.
you get the and having worked in banking, and this is what I wanted to get back to. I've seen if everyone, I would get so mad in tax return season because I could see how much money was going out, and you get to know your customers. You know how much. Never ask your bank teller on a date if you don't have money. No way, because they know. Nobody's going through your account or something. But if you call and ask them to pull their account up, they can see it. And so if you got $1.58, don't tell them you're going to treat them to the world because they already know. Go tell that lie somewhere else. But you can see all the money leaving, and you know how much money's in their account, and then you see 10, 15, $12,000 coming in multiple times. Then you just see us giving it away. Look, if somebody gave me $10,000 right now, within the month, I would have started a business and hired a person, and the tax range would grow so much because that's what I know how to do. So to get anyway, I get sidetracked on that. But then from that to this creating money as a control, I watched a guy come in and he wanted to take out a check, a cashier's check for $100,000. I knew the guy, wasn't going to be an issue. Go to his account, it's sitting at all zeros, and red letter come across the top that said contact the IRS.
Oh.
Okay. So I'm like, hey, Mr. Customer, it says to call the IRS. He goes, no. He says, what's my balance? I said, they took it all. And he goes, give me a second. He walks out. 30 to 40 minutes later, he comes back in. There's a $500,000 back in his account. You're talking about like that. Now, I say this to say the $120,000 we kept in that safe did not change. The bank had no more cash, but in 40 minutes, his account went from zero to $500,000. It's all make believe. There's not a bank.
Imaginary ones and zeros.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. There's not a bank in this town that has over $150,000 in the vault right now. I'd be willing to bet everybody in here $1,000 on it because it's just not possible. I mean, especially by the time you have the Fed now or the Fed Bank, which is in Shreveport, bringing money in, they're filling your ATMs. There's no cash to be had. We are a cashless society playing like we have cash, and that's how they control us. Anyway, let's go back to. I just get so fired up about this because not only is property tax evil, all taxes are evil, but we all fall for it because we feel like we have to.
Right. That's the way we've done it for the last 100 years, and obviously that works, and obviously it doesn't work.
Right.
If grandma is losing her home or has to sell her, sometimes people do get kicked out because they just refuse.
Yeah.
But if you have to sell your home, because you can't pay the taxes anymore, you got to find someplace else to live.
Right.
And so you don't get to keep all that money. It's about to go to something.
Right.
But so taxes are evil. Property taxes are especially evil because the idea that you could work all your life to pay for something, and then some politician could say, actually, your house is worth 3 times as much this year as it was 3 years ago, and so give us the money.
Right.
That's bizarre that we do that. Well, you getting the picture too?
Yeah. Make it happen.
There we go.
We're recording, but
Well, we recorded that.
There
That's
we go.
okay.
There was a
This
camera
is real.
involved.
This is raw. Wait. They're going to see the premium listener.
Oh
we're
well.
just on the picture.
Y'all have already said my name a few weeks ago.
Oh,
Did we?
well, everybody,
It's funny to me. That's all.
they're gonna have to go back and listen to their notes then.
Wow. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, so we had a good overall experience with Chris Spencer. Now, let me say personally, I like Chris Spencer. He's been on here. He's on my radio show multiple times.
Mhm.
I always identified with him in the fact that this is a business guy that understands money and the cost it is to your daily life to be taxed more. So, from that standpoint, I've been a Chris Spencer fan, especially once Dale was out of the last.
Right.
Like, it came down to a runoff between
I
Chris
introduced
and
him. I introduced him last night. You might not have been there.
no.
I introduced him as a year ago. 2 years ago, he was our second favorite candidate. Now he's our favorite candidate because we were back in Dale Hulls back then.
And Dale Hulls is running for Bowie County
County chair.
County chair. And so,
Republican Party county chair.
yeah, Boone County
Republican Party.
Republican Party.
You know, we might consolidate them because the Democrats aren't doing that good right
Well, and
now.
half
And it's just helpful for everybody, I think.
half the Republicans are Democrats anyway.
Well, they were
No,
15 years ago. So yes, we almost always talk about the disclaimer. Gary Van Deever's a good guy. Everybody seems to like him. I like
Yeah.
him. I don't know him very well, but I mean, he's a likable guy.
You know, I did get
But
posed
Chris
this.
Spencer is, I think, for what we're trying to get done, what the Bowie County, the people of Bowie County, because that's who he's going to represent, and others too. He's not going to represent just the Republican. I
Right.
think he's going to do a good job for everybody. And I
Yeah.
don't care who you are. I don't care how long you've rented. Property taxes affect you, and that's a
Yeah.
big deal.
think so.
Everything else he's talking about is solid, and he's going to do the right thing on it. Because we're gonna watch him constantly. 'Cause that's our job.
Right.
So and I've had people. How many times I've said politics, it's dirty.
I had
Well, if
somebody
you
tell me the other
leave it
day.
to the dirty people, you're going to get dirty.
I had
That's
somebody
what
tell
you
me the
wind
other
up
day.
with.
They said, "Oh, you're not supposed to talk about politics and religion. You're not supposed to talk about those in public." And I said, "Why?" I said, "I'm not the guy for you to tell this to. Number one, but why?" And they said, "Well, those can be offensive." I said, "If you're offended by somebody worrying where your eternal soul is going to wind up,
Mhm.
that's your problem.
Yeah.
If you're offended by someone telling you how to make your life better and how to protect your family, that's also your problem. If you're offended by me loving you so much that I'm going to say, hey, Jesus is the only way to heaven. Because if you believe that and you don't tell people, why do you hate them?
Right?
And then if you believe that and I do, that the government is a necessary evil. I don't think the government is a savior. I don't think
No.
it's good. I think it's something that we have to have because we are fallen men. So we need something to keep us wrangled within constraints. Even which one of our founders was it said with our constitution was made for a moral people, and if without morals, it's of no value.
Yeah. It's made for people who have some self control. Right now, I would say, on line with that, obviously, we talk about politics and religion in public. I
Every
see
day.
them. I see them as they're linked. You have
Inseparable.
to. It's
Yeah,
you.
that's
You
part
have
of
to
that.
have. You got to have the morality to go along with politics. If it's an immoral people, then they need strict, strong control. And that's why there's people who want to make our country into saying, "Oh, boys are the same." Or boys, you can't tell if somebody's a boy or a girl by looking at them. Or it's okay for boys to go in girls' locker rooms. They're trying to tear all that down. So we need more control. We don't want more control. But I would say go to YouTube or Rumble or even JBS.org and look for the Constitution. I'm sorry, overview of America. It's a 30-minute video, and it talks about why we need government and why we need limited government.
So let me play off what you just said. And when you say moral people, I had somebody call me out on this the other day. They said, "Hey," and they even said you. They said a lot of times when you and Steve talk about certain people, and you say, "Oh, they're a good person," but we just don't agree with them. They're like, if that person holds theirself up as Christian and then doesn't do the Christian thing, why are you saying they're a good person? Now, I don't know what they're talking about, or you know, because by all means, Representative Van Deever's a deacon at his church, I think. I mean, so, but I'm sure we've said that about other people as well. But this person's like, or either they're good or not. But what standard are we judging this by? If you know something's going to be hurtful to the people, then that's not a moral person.
You can get so wrapped up in how you've lived your life and the people that you're around, you only see one worldview.
Yeah,
And that's the problem with any politician. That's why we try to keep an open mind.
yeah,
Constantly go back to the Constitution. What does it say? And so you can have a preacher that says, well, in my experience, that's not theology. That's
right.
that's eulogy.
Yeah,
Go back to the Bible. What does the Bible say? And that's the thing that's going on. People go, well, people don't get healed anymore.
what? Yeah,
Well, no, I saw somebody die.
Mhm.
And so you can use your personal experience as theology, but the thing to do is go back to the Bible. If you're talking about, and that's why I say Gary Van Deaver, we can say he's a good guy. He's well
I
respected,
think he is.
and
Yeah,
say we disagree with how he does things. Now his entire career has been in education. Now, he was an ag teacher.
and he has a farm
he's got
now.
his roots in farming and all that kind of stuff. But the training that they get, the continuing education they get, puts him in a certain frame of mind about what's right and what's wrong.
Right.
And and we're not saying that teachers are bad, but
No.
there are some things that come into our education system that we don't agree with. And if it's given to you just a little bit at a time, it sounds normal.
Right.
Um,
Well, that's
so
just.
you
I mean,
can be a good person and vote in a way that I don't agree with.
my buddy calls it. He's not a religious person at all. I don't consider myself religious. Also, I'm just a Jesus person. But he's not a. He's just not a faith person. He's
Mm,
just very. He says he's very science, and I always tell him, "Well, God is science."
it's true.
But he does. He's got a good saying for it. It's called lifestyle creep. Whatever you slowly accept creeps in. And when he and I talk about it, it's because, um, growing up with no money, and then as you start to, oh, I can do this, well, I can DoorDash this, well, I can do this. Well, your lifestyle creeps to a way that's much
Hmm.
more expensive than it ever would have you thought it would have been. And so the lifestyle creep can happen like you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to accept this one little thing that might be on the edge of where we're okay with. Well, then you become okay with. But what Glenn Beck called it was the Overton window. And
And that's the definition of that. It's politics creep.
yeah,
The weird fringe liberal things, and always liberal, the things that were weird and were fringe now become mainstream. Now the Overton window can shift to the left, which it has done humongously in our
drastically.
country, but it can begin to shift back to the right. Uh, what was the statistics we had? 2018, 68% of people wanted to get rid of property taxes. In 2024, it was 74%. So the Overton window on that topic of eliminating property taxes in Texas is
Right.
shifting to the, I guess, to the right. It's certainly to the conservative. Um, and we talk about this every once in a while. The Blue County Patriots. We're a nonpartisan organization. The John Birch Society is nonpartisan. We believe the Constitution is a solution. Blue County Patriots, it says it up there on the screen all the time. Constitutional conservatives, Christian values. So we're not Republicans, we're not Democrats, not independents, not libertarian. Constitutional conservative
Well, and
with
that, and
Christian
that's what
values.
gets on the nerves of some of the establishment Bowie County Republicans is because we won't call ourselves Republicans. However, you believe in the Constitution and you believe in Jesus. This is
Yeah.
this
So
is
here's
where
my
you need to be.
yeah. So we are constitutional conservatives with Christian values, and we have topics, we have all this stuff that go right along with that. And if you come to our organization and that affects the way you vote, awesome. So I think the Democrats should be should have more constitutional Democrats should have more constitutional issues. I mean,
Right.
they should believe it more and work towards enforcing that. But I think the Republicans should be a little more aggressive about pursuing constitutionalism.
Absolutely.
Both parties should.
Well, did you see this? It was yesterday on Politico.com. Trump has fired a Democrat on the Federal Railroad Board, and he's refusing to leave his post. And now the lady from the Fed, she's refusing to leave her post. They don't want to represent us. They want to rule us. And when we try to follow the rules as it's set up in the Constitution, now it's to the point. We're so post constitutional that it's to the point where they're saying they don't have to listen to the president who's over the executive office. So that's why
Yeah.
we get fired up about all these things. Oh, what does the
The railroad guy does work for the president.
absolutely, and so does the Fed under the
Ah.
map of the
Yeah.
way it's mapped out under
The Federal Reserve is a privately owned bank, and we don't know who ultimately owns it.
well,
They
true,
let us
but they're
pretend. They let
appointed
us
by
pre-
the president.
Yeah, they let us pretend to be in charge.
And so, and that's going to bring that in. If that's the case, and they're saying that, then now's the time. Okay, if you don't answer to us, you got to go.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's where it's going to come to. Either
The Federal Reserve is the biggest poison this country has ever accepted into itself. They're the ones
absolutely.
that print the money. And think about this: if I say, "Premium listener, here's $100,000 imaginary for you to build a house," and then you can't pay me back, what am I going to take back? Imaginary? Or am I going to take back the house?
The house.
Yeah. So, and that's what's going on. They are able at some point to say they do it to the local banks. They loan the local banks money. The local banks loan money they don't have. And so, if you do fractional lending, if you do fractional reserves, and all of that points back to the Federal Reserve, just imaginary money, but they get to take back money that we use blood, sweat, and tears for, or they get to take back resources.
Well, and that ties into my
So
statement earlier.
I'm going to give you imaginary money, but I'm going to collect real wealth.
Well, that ties into earlier. Why are these safes Why is there not one with over $150,000 in it? Because the fraction of interest that they earn, that your local bank earns on their deposits into the Fed, it's better to have lower volumes in your safe here
Mhm.
where you're not making any money and keep it all in the Fed bank than they're making money off it. Which once again, I'm not against people
But if
making
you
money.
but if you got $100,000 in that vault back there,
It's not
and
making
somebody
anything
comes in and needs a loan for 200,000, you do it because you're not actually giving them.
because you're not giving them any
Yeah.
cash.
So get rid of the Federal Reserve. That's something Ron Paul has said for years. He says,
Yeah.
let's audit it because that's just a stepping stone. Wait a minute, this is all made up, and then you get rid of it.
That's
And
exactly
it's
right.
been a scam all along, and it's been based on fraudulent things.
Well,
And fraud vitiates everything. If I make a contract with you to do something, my side's fraudulent, you don't have to fulfill your part of the contract.
when did we
And
get the Fed?
1913.
1913,
When did we get the first income tax?
1913. So
It's funny,
we
huh?
we
It's
got
funny how that works.
we had the ability to loan money to the United States, the ability to get it paid back, and then all they needed after that was a reason to loan us money. So hey, here's a war.
Yeah.
And that's how this happened.
Oh, yeah, it's funny how that works.
Yeah. So when you write a check to pay your income tax, you make it out to the Federal Reserve. You don't write to the United States Treasury.
That's right.
You write it out to the Federal Reserve. The United States Treasury does not get it. The Federal Reserve does. And like I said earlier, they're giving us
Well, my
putting this much money
my
into the
tax
economy,
payment
they
plan
take
is
some
on
back out.
IRS.gov, but
Do what?
my tax payment plan is on IRS.gov. But
Yeah, but you're sending it electronically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
That's
don't
all.
write the check.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You don't feel the pain.
I feel it. Let's go back to this, talking about the moral side of this country. Did you see where, I believe it was yesterday, Jen Psaki, former press secretary, came out, and Caroline Levitt, number one, Caroline Levitt, if we're just from a completely male perspective, I think we're going through hottest conservative women right now. Lauren Boebert, Caroline Levitt, like they're doing good. I mean, we're not, I'm just telling God, good
Trump
job.
hated women.
Yeah, exactly right. He
You know what?
doesn't hate them.
I'm going to show a clip one time. Sometimes I keep forgetting to do it. Or just a picture actually. I have a friend who lives in Florida,
Mhm.
and she has she's had a little bit of surgical enhancement, but she is really fit.
Yeah.
Okay. And she has a
Probably a
friend.
liberal.
No.
Yeah,
No.
exactly
No,
right.
she's conservative. She's very fit. Had a little bit of extra equipment, and she has a friend who is the same way. And
Upgrade.
and so this friend has a lot of tattoos,
Yeah.
which are eye catching. And I saw a video of her. I mean, she went to a bunch of Trump rallies the first time around,
Yeah.
and I saw a video of him going through the line. He's going through the line. He'd look ahead, talk to somebody. He'd just stand there and talk to him, give him his full attention. And he'd look down the line, and he would do it. And so here's my friend and her friend who is similar, and they're both wearing fairly short shorts and tank tops.
I hate it.
Okay, so it shows their shape. It shows cleavage.
Yeah.
She's got tattoos in the cleavage. So here's the thing: Trump never looked them up and down.
Just eye
He
contact.
never did. He looked at them, made eye contact, went over, talked to them, shook their hands. Never looked below their chin.
He's also married to a supermodel.
Well, he is. But
Yeah.
if I mean, supposedly he's a lecherous man, but there was two good-looking women by any standard,
And he
and
composed
and
himself.
and
And
he and
that's the story of Trump.
and that's so weird. I mean, if I knew I was being videoed, I'd probably be a little more careful with my eyes. But he didn't look unnatural. He wasn't doing like this, like
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna look.
Try
I'm not
not
gonna
to.
look.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
look. He just looked him in the eye, talked to him. I want to show. I mean,
How
she's been on
he is a gentleman.
she's been on magazine covers.
Yeah.
And so I mean, she's a very attractive
And so
lady.
have I.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Probably for different things,
Yeah,
different
maybe.
ways. But she's a very attractive lady. And I want to show that sometime at the Boone County Patriots.
Yeah,
I'm not going to just
please.
pop it up and everybody stare at it. I'm going to say, here she is, and I'll tell the
Circle what
story.
you like.
Yeah.
So
What?
So here we go. Back to the Carolina Levitt. The point I was getting at.
We couldn't have had this conversation with.
Not on the radio. We couldn't have.
Well, we couldn't have had it with your previous audience member that was in here either.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah,
No.
I'm glad her Madre picked her up. So But Jen Psaki comes out, who is not on the list
Every
of
time somebody says Jen Psaki, it just sounds weird. I love
Yeah,
Jen
'cause you
Psaki.
yeah,
That's because
yes,
it is P-S-A-K-I.
yeah. But she came out and said after Mayor Frey and Mayor Frey up in Minneapolis or wherever where that shooting was,
Minneapolis.
yeah,
That's where he's the
Minneapolis,
mayor.
came out and said, "Hey, prayer doesn't work."
Yeah.
And Caroline Levitt comes out and is like, "What are you talking about?" Because as we said earlier about church, oh, miracles don't work. We know prayer work. You can't tell me anything other than prayer works.
Yeah.
There are millions and millions and millions of people in this country who believe that. So the Democrat Party has gone so far left that the former spokesperson for the President of the United States will say prayer doesn't work. That's wild.
It is.
She's in my thoughts.
She's not in mine.
That is literally what's going on. And so that mayor of Minneapolis that says, don't be doing this thoughts and prayers thing. These kids were praying while they were getting shot. And
Thank
they're
God they
making
were.
fun of it. Well, yeah. But he's the one that went up to the solid gold coffin of George Floyd, got down on one knee, put his hand up on the coffin, and stayed there for a little bit. I don't
Solid
know. He was.
gold worship. It sounds familiar. I'm
It
not sure
does. It
where
does.
was it.
Nobody-
There's a testament about it.
Nobody played music and made him do it, but
Oh,
but he did. What was kneeling with his hand on the coffin, his head down, eyes closed? What was he doing? Was he just thinking about George Floyd? And here's the thing.
Could have been thinking about barbecue.
Here's the thing. Right now, there's somebody who is running for mayor in Minneapolis that is an avowed socialist. I think it's one of the people that might be from another country. I can't remember that part.
Yeah, he is.
But-
He's from
But
Somalia.
people are going, no, we like this guy better. The guy who was worshiping George Floyd.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to say that. It was thoughts
Idol
and prayers for
worship.
George Floyd. They're saying, well, I mean, oh my gosh, he's better than the communist.
Right. Did you see this? I know we've got a long episode, but actually somebody last night asked me, like, "Hey, can you start doing hour episodes? Because I drive around a lot during the day." So, hey, here you go. You're welcome.
Yeah, apparently we can't.
Yeah, apparently so.
They probably had 3 crashes from all the humor and laughing.
Humor. So,
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you being serious?
100%.
Yeah.
Jokes.
I never joke around.
X.com, Charlie Kirk. Oh, no.
He's calling you now.
That's a renter. X.com, Charlie Kirk, breaking Minneapolis school shooter Robert Westman confessed he was tired of being trans and wished he quote never brainwashed himself. Charlie Kirk goes on to say the evil perpetrated on young people by the trans medical industry is a problem. I think that's right where we are, and I went into this pretty well yesterday. This is a mental disorder that we need to get under control as we have the moral slide in this country. And then I'm just trying to hit some of these notes. Did you all see this on CNBC? The second quarter GDP, where they said, "Well, it didn't do what Trump wanted it to do. It wasn't where it wanted it to be." Actually, they've come out and revised that, and the second quarter GDP went up to 3.3, and inflation was revised down. This is what happens. This is our plan working as we were told it was going to. And then I have a statement here from Trump. He says the Republican Party, this is on Truth Social, the Republican Party is doing really well. Millions of people have joined us in our quest to make America great again. He goes on to say they're going to do a national convention for the midterm. I think that's awesome, Mr. Listener.
I haven't heard that. That's interesting. I'm kind of wondering if that means we get the same national convention nominees from the states that we had 2 years ago.
It will be awesome. So he wants to keep the energy up. He wants to win the midterms. We never do a mid.
There's never a gain for the party in power at the midterms.
Well, because what is the purpose of the RNC conventions?
President.
It's presidential
But
nomination.
if we have a convention to gain energy around the midterms, I think this is a good move.
Party.
I'm
Hey,
never been to one.
going back to the shooter. It was Robert Westman, correct?
Yes. Went
Okay.
by Robin.
Right. So I've got some friends that go way back, like late 80s.
Yeah.
Um,
Like that they were your friend.
I don't know if they want to hang out with me now. We're still friends on Facebook.
No, but
Um,
that's what you're saying. You've been friends with them since the late
Since the late
80s.
80s, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I just want to
Um,
make sure I was understanding.
So this is what she has, and I will show. Can you see it? Not really. Anyway, it's a graphic somebody made. The Minnesota Catholic school shooter has been identified as 20-year-old Robin Westman.
Yeah.
Okay, it's actually Robert,
Right.
but he was trans for a while. His name was Robin. But this is what they wrote. The Minnesota Catholic school shooter has been identified as 20-year-old Robin Westman. On his gun and gun magazines were written anti-black, anti-Hispanic, and anti-Semitic messages such as 6 million wasn't enough. He's not an immigrant. He's not Antifa. He's not in ISIS. He's yet another right-wing, white nationalist, homegrown terrorist, just like nearly all the others. And how much of that, I mean, he wasn't Robin. She was Robin. He pretended to be Robin. And he on his gun and magazines, it did have those things.
But it's never the right
But he
one.
wasn't
Well,
a right
most
wing,
times.
right nationalist.
No.
But
it-
just like nearly all the others, and I've seen this, they put these little talking points out there that it's just like all the others. It's another white nationalist, and it's never a white nationalist.
well, our listener can tell you probably from the years of now listening to the show, I often will say, we know this person wasn't a white conservative Christian because they didn't say it in the first article. Anytime that it is,
Yeah.
that's what the news comes out and says everywhere is, oh, white Christian male kills people. But when it doesn't say, oh, we've got a shooting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Remember the
okay.
Beltway shooter 20 years ago? The Beltway shooter in
movie.
D.C. People were getting gassed, and all of a sudden they get hit
Just
with a
knock 'em
rifle
out,
round.
yeah.
Yeah, and so the experts were coming on and saying, well, this is obviously an ex-military
Yeah.
white man, and he's thinking this and this and this. He hates minorities, and he's taking it out on anybody he sees. And it was actually it was two men of color, and they were Muslim, correct? And yeah, and so
Religion
these
of peace.
experts, this is what these people are. But when they finally meet them, they go, "Well, it happened because of white nationalism and blah blah blah." So
There's a
either
narrative that they want you to believe,
There
and they're
is.
going to inject that as soon as they can.
Yeah. So we talked about this last night that the elite communists tell the street communists
That's exactly right.
that the Nazis are trying to kill them, and so the street communists go out and try to kill the Nazis first. But they tell the people that Nazis are actually white, are the white conservatives. So
Right.
Nazi means National Socialist.
Yeah,
But that doesn't matter to
As
anybody.
we said, words don't matter
Fascist,
anymore.
yeah, fascist. I've got memes about this. I think I put up recently. Fascist means somebody wants to control somebody. Fascism and communism are part of the same end of the spectrum. They want to control things. Again, go watch Overview of America. It's 30 minutes, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard. I learned more in 30 minutes than I learned in all of high school.
Absolutely.
And that's
So-
on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. It's on Rumble. You can go to jbs.org and look for it there. Overview of America, and it's brilliantly done. And so it shows why all the isms are all on the left. It shows why we have to have laws that we can't. I mean, I have people go, you know what? I just want to be left alone. I'm an anarchist. I want to be left alone. Well, that's not how that works.
If you're an anarchist, you won't be left alone.
Yeah,
Number one.
I mean, in an anarchy has never been a form of
It's
government.
the opposite of government.
It's never been. It's never been. It's always a stepping stone.
Right.
And so if you tear everything down and there's no law and order, then everybody's life's in danger, everybody's property's in danger, and you got to have somebody that's gonna stop the bad people, and then that somebody becomes the government.
Right.
So anarchy is a stepping stone to despotism every time.
Yeah.
Anarchy is not a way to live.
Well, that's exactly right. I want to talk about this one more article from Wired.com.
And you got me spun up a lot this time.
Yeah, dude, it's fun.
How long have we gone?
Hour and 15 minutes. Wired.com.
I think I have to pay extra for this episode.
That's you, premium listener. A dark money group is secretly funding the high-profile Democrat influencer. Now, here's what this tells me. First of all, Joe Rogan is not a conservative influencer. Joe Rogan is a liberal who has left his state because, and admittedly, Joe Rogan is a lot more conservative leaning now than he was because when you fill yourself with knowledge and truth over time, you can't help, and you truly approach it with an open mind. It makes sense because these aren't just crazy ideas trying to control people. So there's that. But what this also tells me is conservative influencers generally find a way to make money because people believe in their vision.
Yeah.
People want to be part of the movement.
I like
People,
this guy. I'll
people,
drink their
yeah,
coffee. I'll wear
I'll
their
drink
shirt.
their coffee. I'll come on their show. I'll support them any way that I can.
Mhm.
And then other like-minded people do that. The liberals don't have that. We're even seeing that in their funding getting dried up from USAID. You look, Hillary Clinton's have to ask for money. All these liberal things that just somehow got all this money. Now that fountain's drying up, they're having to find other money. So there's nobody to pay for this. That's why they're having to take a dark money group. But more than that, it shows liberals have no original ideas.
True.
Oh, this is working for conservatives. Let us try it. Except for we don't have a grassroots to be able to support us. So we're going to have to find a way of a George Soros. I don't know if he's behind this or not, but a George Soros, a Bill Gates, somebody like that who pay for it because the common man doesn't identify with them.
Right. You look at Bill Maher.
Oh, he's
He's
my favorite liberal.
if he wants if he wants to just make things up and have a straw horse to build somebody up, tell a bunch of things about them, and tear into them. He does that with Republicans, with
Right.
conservatives. But if he just wants to look at the facts and say this is stupid, it's the liberals he's talking about.
Yes.
Because, and I'm not saying if you're a liberal you're stupid. I'm saying that the people who put the stuff out there for you to consume don't think much of your intelligence.
Yeah.
Because
And the
once you
ones at
start
the top
looking at
know that
things,
it's not right.
well, they do.
The
Yeah,
ones
they
at the
absolutely
top
do.
are it's a mean. This is what I say all the time. It's all about control. This is how they control us.
Right.
The thought police just sent me a text message and they're on the way to capture both of y'all.
Well,
It's
I
gonna
don't know
take
if they'll even arrest you. They're just going to capture you.
yeah, I mean,
That's from 1984, I believe.
Did you ever see the movie? And it came out the same time as The Matrix. It was with Christian Bale, and it was based on 1984. Called
1984.
nope,
Part two.
no, but it's called anyway. I'll look it up when we get off. But it's about the thought police, and here's what's funny when you tie it into today's time. They give you medicine to control your emotions so that
Yep.
you're
Soma from Brave New World.
oh, okay. Here, hold on. I'll just look it up.
You know, it won't be long before you can have Chat GPT open on your computer, and it's just listening to what you're talking about, and it just pops up the name of the movie for you. It pops up the whatever.
What do you need a premium listener for if you got that?
right. Yeah. No. Equilibrium.
You could
is
be the
name
one
of
that has
movie.
the AI.
Equilibrium.
Equilibrium. But they go through and they're, well, you can't have too much emotion, so we'll give you a medicine to deaden it. And then they have Big Brother comes on the TV and tells you what to believe. And it's very much, I mean, obviously, the movie that lines up closer with today's time is obviously Demolition Man. But it's the same thing. It's a perfect society. You'll just go around singing jingles and we'll try to make everybody happy and everybody will live in the underground. But anyway,
In the
not
movie
that-
Serenity, they address that.
what movie?
Serenity. Malcolm Reynolds.
I can only hear George Costanza's dad yelling "Serenity" now.
Well, watch the movie, and it'll help you. It'll get that brain
Okay.
worm out.
No, I don't think so.
It might.
You're not a Seinfeld fan?
I'm a leap on the wind. Watch me soar.
Okay. All right,
That
everybody.
is- yeah.
We're going to get out of here at the hour and 20 mark. Steve, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Premium listener, thank
It's
you for
fun.
being here. Thank all of
And
you
for fixing
being,
the microphone.
yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
for fixing the microphones. And
And
thank
bringing
all-
your own microphone.
yeah, premium listener did bring his own microphone.
It's fancier than ours.
No comment.
But thank all of you for being a part of the show. Thank you for playing along. We'll be back. We'll do it again on Monday. Have a good day, and I hope God blesses all of you.